Let's jump straight into this build. Today, I'm sharing how I Ikea hacked my way to a new entertainment center in my living room. I'm using 2 Ikea PAX units on either side of an older media console, and if you ignore the junk here on the shelves, you may already start to see a rough outline coming together. So, obviously, I had to start with pulling everything off the shelves so I could more clearly envision what I wanted to do. I want to include doors on all the sides, drawers along the top, 2 to 3 shelves, and a butcher block countertop. It'll all make sense as we get into it, so let's just get into it. I started with cutting out the baseboards so that the Ikea PAX unit would sit flush with the wall. I used my Dremel multi-tool to cut through the baseboard molding and caulk. Also, if you don't have one of these trim pullers, you need to get on it, honey, okay? I have tried so many pry bars for trim and have even put a hole in my drywall, and I've spent too much time just struggling. So if you're pulling trim, you need this trim puller, period. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's linked below. This is a pretty simple step with the right tools, so it went by pretty quickly. And once I got the baseboard out, it was so satisfying to see the PAX unit slide into place. Just too good. Chef's kiss. Alright, so quick update. I got all of this cut out, and obviously there are like wires spilling out of here because some of them need to connect up to the TV. And at some point, we want to mount the TV on the wall, so we'll need to leave like a gap between the unit. How do I want to explain it? So future Taji is going to handle this. So we did end up deciding to mount the TV and run the cables behind the wall, but I'm still glad that I cut the back portion out of the center console so that I had extra room for better cord management. That may be a controversial choice, and you may not like it, but that's okay. It's my entertainment center. Then I removed the cardboard backing from the PAX unit. It just looked kind of cheap to me and it wasn't necessary, so I just took it off. After that, I used these 3 16th-inch toggle bolts to anchor the units to the drywall so that they're stable. I read about these toggle bolts in a blog once and they worked really well for this, so I've got them linked below. You're welcome. Next up, I went into my shop and started doing inventory. I didn't really have a clear plan of how I wanted to do this build, but I knew I had so much lumber in my shop. I really wanted to use what I had on hand before buying more lumber. I have so much lumber in this garage to work through, so make sure you're subscribed so you can see all those projects come to life. And now it's time to get dusty. I grabbed my table saw and ripped a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood into wide strips. Also, why am I not covering my hair? I'm just watching this clip and wishing I would have covered my hair. That's a lot of dust. Y'all, for real. Do better than me. Protect your hair. Like, don't do as I do, do as I say. Anybody else's mom talk like that? Don't do as I do as I say? Yes, cover your hair, please. Anyways, I digress. I then cut those strips into various lengths with my miter saw so that I could stagger them together to look like a butcher block. I had to trim down a few more pieces to get the right depth to the countertop, but Lord, y'all, no hair covering, no mask, but I do look cute though, so I guess it balances out. So my inspiration for doing this entertainment center in our living room is really oddly enough because our house is very crooked. Like one wall in the living room is several feet off center from another wall. So everything is like just a little bit crooked. And so I felt like maybe if I framed this entertainment center, it might make the room feel a little bit more intentional because it's a little weird right now. So my plan was to assemble this faux butcher block by connecting the boards with pocket holes, but they're right there. As you can see, I totally botched how I set up my Craig jig, and I hadn't reset it from the last time that I used it. And I didn't even realize that this was wrong until the next time I needed to make pocket holes, which weeks had gone by, y'all. Weeks. I'm not even gonna waste your time showing you the process that failed, so we're just gonna move on. I pivoted from that and decided to just cut support pieces that I could glue and nail to the back of the butcher block and hold it all together. The supports also helped since I needed the countertop to sit a bit higher than the console to allow for the trim to go on and not block where the drawers were gonna go. So the weather was bad out this day, so just excuse the less than stellar lighting for a few seconds, but I got everything glued up and laid out so that all I had to do was clamp, glue, and nail it, and it all came together really quickly. Maybe messing up the pocket holes was a good thing after all, because this solution worked really well. It'll be sturdy, and I saved money not using a bunch of pocket screws. I'll take that win. This has been such a long project to get through, y'all. Motherhood has kept me busy and this project slow to finish. I started this in May of 2022, and when I'm recording this, it's February of 23. But life be lifing, as they say, so I'm just glad to finally be finishing this entertainment center. Alright, so this is what I'm thinking it's gonna look like. I'm gonna lay our faux butcher block. This looks pretty good on camera. I'm gonna lay the faux butcher block on top of the entertainment center, and then I will trim it out with this piece of lumber so that it looks thicker than 3/4 inch plywood. And then I'll wrap that all the way around, and oh, it's gonna be cute. She gonna be cute. All right. To really pull this whole thing together, I wanted to remove any seams from between the boards, so I filled them with wood filler and then sanded them down. Sanding is the absolute worst to me, but I just hype myself up and it is always so worth it. Also, whenever I sand, it gives me the chance to just put on my headphones and listen to a podcast or an audiobook. I think at this point I was just starting the Finlay Donovan series, which is so much fun. It's like about an author who gets mistaken for an assassin, and it's got all these like best friend and rom-com vibes in it. It's really, really good, and she's not very good at being an assassin, which is hilarious, but yeah, it's a good read. Let me know if you have any book recommendations or what you're listening to, because your girl trying to stay read up this year. Also, when you're sanding plywood, please be careful to not sand through the veneer. I did it in a couple of spots, and thankfully it's not super noticeable, but it is annoying, and even if nobody sees it, I know that it's there, so don't do as I do, do as I say. Hopefully that's better. I don't know if you can see, I kind of started to sand through the veneer a little bit, so just be careful if you're going to do that. And then also, there's some spots where I filled it with wood fill, and now it looks a little thick, so I'm gonna gently, gonna gently take my putty knife and see if I can kind of get some off the top surface, and then hopefully just sand down the crease and it'll look normal. But these are looking really good, so we're getting somewhere, slowly but surely. And so also, here's what it looks like afterwards, just so you have an idea. That I kind of just chipped away at it a little bit so that it's nice and thin. Finally, I got to bring this inside so I could set it up. And setting this into place was so satisfying. It fit so beautifully. Chef's kiss. I secured it with a few screws from underneath, and to make sure that it was super snug, I recruited the husband to come and apply some extra pressure to the top. For the butcher block counters that would go inside the IKEA units, I was going to need to essentially make a floating shelf. Once I got the supports built, I marked where the stud was in the wall so I could secure it to the wall and then both sides. And then I struggled. Y'all, if there is a better way to have done this, please let me know your ideas, because this was so complicated. I needed at least an extra pair of hands to figure this out. Thankfully, the husband stepped in again, and even though he blocked the camera from whatever solution we had figured out, thank goodness that we got it figured out, because your girl was starting to sweat, and I didn't know what I was going to do if I couldn't find a way to put the side shelves in so that they would be level with the middle shelf. Building the supports was super easy. I used scrap 1x2s because they were going to be hidden anyway. Each support consisted of 3 pieces, one that was the length of the shelf and the other 2 the depth. There's some math in there to account for the size of the lumber that you use, but I'm giving you the simplified version. I cut the lumber and then joined them together with pocket screws. Quick, easy, done. So once we did figure it out, I secured the shelf to the support with pocket screws. Then back to my favorite with sanding some more 1x3 board I used as the trim. I didn't want any exposed nail screws, so I was gonna have to glue the trim in place. It wouldn't experience a ton of tugging or disruption, so wood glue, as ridiculously strong as it is, would be a perfect solution. I used some clamps to hold it up and taped the trim into place while the glue dried. My favorite feature of this entertainment center is this faux butcher block top. It already looks better than I expected, and it's gonna get so much more love to bring it to life. Lastly, for this first part of this entertainment center series, I added trim all along the bottom. Y'all, trim really brings something together. You'll see it here in a second, but it really transformed this piece. This went from being a media console and 2 IKEA units to really looking like a custom built-in. And this is where we wrap up for this time, y'all. I've got a lot of work ahead of me, and I'm excited to share it all. In my next video of this series, I'll be building doors, drawers, and more. We also need to stain and paint, so you're not going to want to miss it. Hopefully you got some tips, tricks, inspiration, motivation, or you just enjoyed the vibes here. Products and everything I used are linked down below. I hope y'all love the video. No need to cash at me. Just give this a like and a subscribe, and maybe share it with a friend who you think could pull this together. Thank y'all so much for watching. I will see you with my next video very soon. Bye!